Hi friends, welcome back to Art Tutorials. We are continuing with our Angular 9 tutorial series. This is the episode 5 and today we will learn about folder structure and boot process in Angular. What happens when we start the Angular application? What are the folders? What are the files which are generated when you generate a new application? We'll learn all about that in this particular episode. It's very important to know these fundamentals because when you appear in any interviews, you're bound to ask questions around these setup, folder structure, booting process, and most likely people who have not worked on it or they miss out on the basics. So I'm here to help you. So we'll learn all about that in this episode. Let's get started. My name is Sridhar. I have over 10 years of experience as a full stack developer. I bring modern technology stack knowledge and experience. I'm here to share my knowledge with you and also to learn from you. So if you during the course of this hands-on experience, tutorials and code examples, if you have any doubts, just feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I will be happy to help you for free. That being said, like I said, we are continuing with our full tutorial series. This is the tutorial number 5. In the previous episodes, we learned about Angular introduction. We learned how to upgrade Angular 9. We have learned how to install Angular CLI. We have learned how to install Bootstrap framework. Today we will learn about the folder structure and boot process. So let's get started. So if you have not checked out the previous episodes, we created an application and now I'm going to explain you in detail about that in the code. So if you have not set up the application, I request you to kindly do so that you follow this tutorial. Let's go to our application. So this is our project that we are building, one conversion, which is about all the conversions that will be um, taking place in our application. For example, from meter to centimeter to kilometer to liter to pounds to etc etc. So anything and everything that has to be converted will be covered in our application. All right, so this is a dummy structure that we just generated. We just added the style.css. That's the only change we did. Let's open the app now and I'm going to make some notes for you so that it's easy for you to understand. And so when we learn, you should always make some notes. That way you will learn better. Okay. So this is tutorial number 5, folder, folder structure and boot process. Let's make some notes. All right. So the first thing that you'll see is called E2E folder. Now this is a folder where all your end-to-end tests will reside. So if you see, test scripts will be residing. So now let's expand that and you will see that there is also something called protractor.config.js, right? So we to run end-to-end test cases, we will use the framework called Protractor. Now that's the framework that is used to run end-to-end test. Protractor framework. We will learn how to write some test scripts. Don't worry about that. Protractor framework is used to run end-to-end tests, right? And then when you expand the source, you will see that there is something called a file name like this one, app.po.ts. So this is your protractor file, which will have po. So you can know that this is a protractor file, and that is where you'll write your end-to-end script. You'll also see a spec file. You see here app.e2e spec.ts file. Now here interesting thing to note is if you see here we have added e2e. That means it tells that the script is end-to-end test script, right? And it will also mentions that there is spec. That means these are the specifications file, or uh, whenever you see spec added, that means that it is a test script or test specification. That's how you should look at it. So that is all about E2E. We'll open them, we'll learn about them, like how should you write, describe, it statements, and we will how to run them. We will learn all about it. First, let's understand the file folder structure. So for the first folder that you see is E2E, which is where all the end-to-end test scripts will be residing. We will have Protractor framework to run end-to-end tests. We will also utilize Jasmine and Karma runner. So Karma is the runner, Jasmine is the language you can write your scripts. That's for unit testing. We'll cover that later. So don't worry on that. We'll come to that when we reach that folder. So first folder is clear. If you have any doubts, please drop them in the comment section. I will be happy to help you for free. Also, if you're liking this series, please give a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to my channel. Let's continue, friends. So the second folder at root level that you see is node modules. So this is the folder you which we generated. This is the one that when we did npm install, right? Or when we would have said ng generate, ng new, right? When we say ng new our app name, it will create a new node underscore modules, fresh, first time. So this is the folder. This is a folder where all modules and libraries reside. So whenever you want to add a new package, new module, you will just do npm install. For example, in previous episode, we learned about npm bootstrap that should be inside the node modules of Bootstrap. So just open it and you should. Okay, so since we imported the style sheet, it will not be here, but if you see all the packages that are here should be residing inside it. So whenever we install any new package or module, it will be inside your node underscore modules. Add or remove modules slash packages, and those will be residing in your node underscore modules. This folder, we will not touch. We will not touch this for folder for development purpose. We will not touch this folder for development purpose. All the development happens in everywhere else, not in this folder. Now the third important and the most critical one is the source folder. This is the main work area, or you can say your application code resides inside this folder. So this is the main folder that all the code resides of your application. Expand it a little bit, you would see different things like app, assets, environments. So app is where you will create your components, your modules. So basic, I'm talking about, this is the basic structure that you're seeing right now. There can be a complex layout where you can have multiple modules that can be scattered around, but this is the basic structure. So that is what we should start with. Now inside this, you will have an app folder. Now this app folder is where you will see your module, your components, your routing module. So app folder is the place where you will see components, modules, services, etc. Like directives, you'll have pipes, right? Much more. We'll see all of that. Don't worry. So this is where everything. So this is the main folder. Now, if you notice each of this, right, you will also see some um, uh, files which will have something called app.component.ts, etc. So wherever you see component, it means that file corresponds to a component. If you see something like app.module, that means it's a module. It means this is a module. Now, what is a module? We'll cover everything, don't worry, but just think that it's a collection of components, services, pipes, everything. Now, You will also see something called app.service.ts. That means these are services, right? These are services files, etc. One important thing to notice here is you would see a spec file. So app.component.spec.ts file. Now we learned here in the previously that wherever you see a spec, that means it's a test script. Whenever you see a spec inside application folder, it means these are unit tests, unit test scripts or specs, right? So very important, friend. This is always asked if you are attending interviews. Wherever you see in under E2E, it means it is end-to-end. That is end-to-end functionality, right? End-to-end functional test script. Wherever you see inside the source app folder, you would see that means it's a unit test script. Then there are other things we'll cover, but this is the basic structure I'm explaining you. And then you would also see assets folder. So assets is where you can keep all your assets like image, CSS libraries or style sheets. Um, style sheets, you can keep icons, you can keep image common library images, etc. Environments is the file where you will configure the environments. Uh, so here we will configure specific to variables or pipelines for dev, test, stage, and prod. So you will create environment specific files, URLs, configurations, etc. for different environments. So if you open, you can see environment, you can configure which ports it has to run in, etc. Moving on. So the next folder, okay, let me also talk a little bit about Polyfills. Polyfills is nothing but it will help you to backfill if your browser, if the user's is browser is outdated one. Polyfills will help us complete or will add ES6 functionalities to it, which will make it backward compatible basically. All right. And then you have your favicon, which is nothing but a simple icon that will show up in the browser. This is where the magic begins. I'll cover this in just a minute. Okay. So hold on to that. Main.ts. We will revisit this. So I'm going to mark it in code so that way we know that it's an important thing. This is where the booting thing comes into picture. So I will cover this in just a bit. So for now, just understand that booting the application, booting the Angular application, right? I hope you are following so far. I hope this notes is also helping you in following what I'm teaching you. If you're liking this series, I request you to kindly give a thumbs up to the video and don't forget to subscribe. There is a lot of more tutorials that I'm going to share with you depending upon how you respond. All right, so then we have our styles.css. This is the global style sheet. So global style sheet. So if you have some commonly shared style sheet that you want to add to all the components, all the views, you can create one style.css. The thumb rule is don't make it heavy. Use only limited things like typography, fonts, or generic classes, etc. Specific ones, keep them in the component itself. Like if you see the component, it will have a SCSS. So that's where its own style can reside. Um, but style.css, it's a global style sheet. Don't make it too heavy and keep all the common generic slash common typography, fonts, and uh, I would say styles, right? That will reside here. And then finally test.ts. This is again a test file for our main.ts. So I'll cover it again later along with main.ts. Okay. rebooting process. All right. And the important file that you will again also see here is angular.json, which is where all your settings for this particular application will be there. We'll cover it again in detail. If you see, this is the same. We have said that this is a new project, which is an array, and the name of the project, the description, the style sheet, the source, the environments that it has to pick up, all of this is residing inside this particular project. So if you see, our project name is one conversion, which is what is here, and all these attributes are specific to one conversion. If we have multiple projects, you'll see an array of projects here. We'll cover that, but just think that this is the configuration. This is the file for all the configuration of our Angular project. All right. Then we have our karma and package. We have our karma.conf.js. This is, I told you, this is the karma runner for running our unit test scripts, right? So to run our unit test scripts, we'll need a karma runner. And we will also have some package.json styles. Okay, I think I crossed that. Sorry. Okay, so I think this should be outside of it. Yes, my bad. I went in the flow. Okay, so this is where we end our source folder, right? This is all about the source folder that we explored. Then we have our angular.json, which is the project configuration. You can have multiple projects inside one Angular repo. We'll learn about that. All of the configuration for a particular project is inside angular.json. Then we learned about karma.config. This is where we'll configure all the uh, requirements for our test scripts to run, the details, how to run, which files to run, which files to skip. And then we have package.json and we have package.lock, sorry, .json. So these two I'm going to cover in the next tutorial because they require a tutorial in themselves. So these two I'm going to cover in the next tutorial, that is episode 6. So don't forget to watch that episode also that I'm going to bring. Uh, okay, and then last, okay, let's me make it here before I leave you. Let me also explain. We can also do some kind of settings and configurations for our TypeScript. So that is where it will go in tsconfig.json, and we can also set our linting in JSON, which we do it in tslint.json. So we can open tsconfig and we can set all the configurations, how the compiler should be, what's the base URL, where should it output, and then source map should be true. What is the target? Is it ES 2015? Then what is the module ES next? So these are all settings. We'll go through all of this when we reach there. But to understand, just understand these are related to compilation and output of build and compilation. Let me just call it build and compilation related to our Angular application is what this is where you will go and check your tsconfig. In the linting, this is like how should you do a warning, how should when you write code, should it end with, this is more of linting, or I would say coding standards that you can set, how it should end, how it should start, where the indentation, the semicolons, etc. And last but not the least, the package and package JSON. I'm going to cover these in the next tutorial, right? So that's clear. Now let me go back. So this was all about the folder structure of Angular project, the default folder structure, default folder structure of any Angular application that is generated. I hope you have followed so far. If you have any doubts, I would be happy to help you. If you need these notes, please ping me. able to paste it in the community chat or in the tutorial description. But if you want this, please drop in the comments. I will be happy to share it with you. Now let's learn about the second part, which is the booting process. How does Angular start, right? How does Angular start working? So let's learn it here. So this is the booting process. What happens when we start an Angular application? So let's go to that file, which is your main.ts. Now this is very important file because this is the starting point. You make any mistake here, it will not compile. Now let's go through that. So I will also make some notes for you. This is the first file or that Angular will check to load how to start an Angular application. So this is the first file. It will come inside. Let's understand this. Now here we are importing some of the required libraries like Angular core and then platform browser dynamic. We need this for sure. Then we have to import the app module. We need at least one module, right? We need at least one module to be present in our main.ts. By default, the module that's inside the main.ts is app module. So let's see here. If you see here, app module, so by default, app module is imported. And this is the app module, right, that we have inside our app here. We'll learn about app modules later. First, understand the flow. We are importing the environment and checking that the environment is, if it is production, then enable prod mode. So when you say prod mode, it will shrink, it will minimize the uh, CSS, JavaScript, the output, it will be minimizing, it will make single build which is lesser in size and faster to load. Then it will initialize platform browser dynamic and then it will bootstrap the module. So when you say bootstrap module, that means it tells which module creates an instance of ng module for any given platform using the given runtime compiler, right? Which means the first file or the exact booting process starts with bootstrap module. Module is the one which loads and starts the application. So Bootstrap module is what starts the Angular application. So in in lot of interviews they ask you how does Angular application start? What do you understand by Bootstrap module? So don't talk about Bootstrap framework. This is different. So don't get confused by that. So here I'm going to make some notes. This is not related to Bootstrap framework. Keep that in mind. Um, a lot of people tend to get confused. This is not related to Bootstrap framework at all. There is no relation. Okay. Now, Bootstrap module is the first module. We tell that initialize the browser application and bootstrap the module. Which one? That is app module in this case, else give an error. If you have some other module that you want to start, not necessarily app module, we can import it. Can we change this module? Yes, absolutely we can change it. We can change the default app module to something else, with something else. So I can write a new module and we can write a custom module and then load it into Bootstrap module. It's possible. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to always use app module. It's not like that. We can load any module. Let's say tomorrow I will write something called import. I will say authenticate or authorize module, right? I can write that and I'll say start with it. So I'll just replace it here like this. That's totally fine, right? So we'll learn about that also when we learn about creating our own modules. We will learn all of that. So don't worry. For now, understand this process, understand the notes, drop me any questions you have. I'm making these notes. If you want the notes, just comment in the comment section below. Please give a thumbs up. I will be happy to help you and share these notes with you. Now, we have learned about the main.ts file. Without this, nothing happens. All this, the code is tested inside test.ts. So if you open this file, all the code related to main.ts testing is done. All the code inside main.ts is tested here in this file. So if you make any changes here, make sure that you're updating your test.ts so that your application passes, right? So this was an extensive, I think, episode that I covered so far. I hope you're liking it. I am enjoying teaching you. Uh, so I hope you are also enjoying learning. Let me know if you have any doubts, any queries. I'll be happy to give you these notes. Just drop in the comment section. And in the next episode, I'm going to talk extensively about package.json and package.log.json. Those are two important files. And I'm sure after this, we'll start some coding component services and lot more. I hope you're enjoying this series. Please give a big thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to keep supporting and encouraging me. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.